actually read it completely. Aren't we proud? I know I am. That is about as much of the plot that I can tell you from my own pea-sized brain. I wish I would have figured that out before I started the book. I didn't. I am literally gonna break my wrist holding this thing up. Hello Lovely Bookworms, I'm Esmay from Paradise of Pages on Instagram and also on Twitter, and welcome to a new video. And today's video is going to be a review of Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. So I hope you're gonna enjoy this. I actually read it completely. Aren't we proud? I know I am. And without further ado, let's get into it. So before I actually get into what I thought about the book, I want to say that this is gonna be spoiler free for the most part. There might be some small minor details about which characters are gonna be in the book, but that's about it. If you've read the synopsis, this will not be a spoilery review, but a spoiler free review. So I hope you're gonna enjoy it. Let's get into it. So I have the book here. First and foremost, I want to say that this is a standalone. It's a huge standalone. This book actually has 804 pages, and then there's about 30 pages filled with glossary, characters, descriptions, timelines, those kinds of things. So that's actually pretty useful. I wish I would have figured that out before I started the book. I didn't, but it is quite easy to get through if you give it a little bit of time, so it's not too difficult to understand. That said, before I actually get into my feelings about the book, I will try to tell you in a short amount of words what this is about. Okay, so the main premise is actually already on the book, and that is the Nameless One. Some say that the Nameless One is gonna return, some actually want him to return, and then there are people who believe that he will not return if a certain house that you will also read about in this book is sustained. So that's actually the entire premise of the book. The fact that the Nameless One might return, chaos might come to the world, that kind of thing. Then we follow basically three main protagonists. We have Ede, we have Sabran, and then we have Tane, I think her name is. Yeah, Tane. And those three women you basically follow. Then there are some more other storylines, but I'll get to that in a little bit. I do have to say that I'm not the best at giving synopsis for books. I think I've mentioned this multiple times. Sometimes I get to do it, but sometimes it doesn't work out that well. So as always, there will be a link down below so you can read the synopsis on Goodreads and maybe even add it to your TBR if you'd like. I hope you can't hear this. Someone's doing something outside. That said, that is about as much of the plot that I can tell you from my own pea-sized brain. Going into this book, I want to start off with the characters, but before I do, I want to say that I was very, very excited about this book. I think it had all the elements that I would like in a book, so dragons, fantasy, high fantasy. I also really enjoy standalone from time to time, and there's romance in here. Not that much, but there is a little bit of romance. So this actually has all the elements that I usually really like about fantasy. I also believe that this is adult, so if you're looking for a simple young adult dragon-y book, this is not for you. If so, I would recommend The Last Namzara, which was amazing. So starting off with the characters, I do have to say that I loved most of them. The only one I didn't like at all was Nicholas. He had a storyline that I didn't think, one, was necessary, or two, was interesting, but we all have our personal opinions. That said, while I enjoyed the characters, I do have to say that they were not necessarily my favorites. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't really connect to them. I do have to say that I did really like Ede. She was amazing, and I also liked the premise of Tane's storyline. But her as a character, she felt very meek and little at times, where I would have wished she was a little bit more of the warrior that they claim her to be. That said, I think that's the most I can tell you about the characters. Most of them are well-rounded. They're enjoyable enough. I think there is something in there for everybody, which is nice. But one way or another I felt a little bit disconnected to them. Then I want to actually move on to the thing I loved most about this book, and that's the world building. This book was absolutely stunning and amazing when it comes to world building. So the entire world inside Priory is all made up. Everything is new, from the marriages to the houses to the lands, everything. And the way in which this was established was just phenomenal. I loved the way Samantha Shannon did that, especially in a book that is, in that sense, only 800 pages long and also needs to tell you an entire adventure. That was amazing. I loved reading about all the political stuff in here, the alliances, the marriages, and I think it was really interesting to see how everything in one way or another linked together from the beginning to the end of the book. That said, that does make the pace of this book very slow. It's not a book that you can read in one sitting, and I am literally gonna break my wrist holding this thing up, so maybe this will work. Just there we go. No, this doesn't work. It's just such a heavy book. Okay, where was I? I lost my trail of thought there. What was I talking about? Right, the pace. I was talking about the pace of the book. It is not a book that you can read in one sitting, or at least not if you value your sanity. That said, it was a nice book. I missed action a lot of the time. It is not an action-packed book. I would have liked this to be a little bit more action-packed and a little less political. I do like the political bits, but it is, if you look at action, it's 20% action, 80% political, and everything that surrounds the political affairs. I would have liked this to be 50-50, or at least a little bit more action. So I do say that that is something that I missed. Then, talking about the world itself, I think the premise of that is also very, very interesting. I loved seeing that there is a big divide between people who hate dragons and people who actually work with them. It was such an interesting line of thought to see that there was so many differences between that, but also in religion. Religion-wise, there's such a major difference, and you get all the nice and good explanations to what happens in the religions, where they came from, which I think was absolutely amazing. Then I'm gonna get to something that I really didn't like about the book, and that's the ending. I think that this book actually sets you up 750 pages of the way, and then everything is revolved in the last 50. That is just something that I personally found way too easy. Same goes for the plot in that sense, which kind of links together. Everything was solved way too quickly for something to be brewing for so long. Also, the way in which everything came together was just too easy. It fit too nicely. They didn't really have to look for the things that they needed. It was just all of a sudden there. Also, it took me a long time to get into it, which is not weird with a book that is this big, so there's a lot of stuff they have to set up. I just feel like it took a little bit too long, and the details were too numerous in the beginning. I think that's everything I have to say about this book. It was overall, I think, very well done, especially the world building. I don't think I've ever encountered a world build in the way that this one is, which is astounding. I do have to say that it took at least me, but from other people as well. I know that Femke also took a while reading this. We actually tried to read this together and kind of did. I would advise not trying to push everything into a couple of days. That said, I do think it is very enjoyable if you can look through the couple of points that I've mentioned. So the plot, the ending, some of the characters you can't really connect with. But other than that, I think it was an amazing read. I'm not so sure it lived up to my expectation. That's also something that I have to say. I had very high expectations about this one, and I don't think it delivered on all accounts. In the end, though, I did really enjoy it, and I believe I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, especially because of the world building, which I found amazing. I've said that multiple times, but it is amazing. And I think that if you like adult fantasies with a lot of political intrigue in it, some dragons, and some kick-ass characters, I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it. Hopefully this review is a little bit helpful to you. Also, I hope the lighting is okay, because I'm losing light pretty fast and I'm trying to film this video. Anyway, have you already read Priory? Are you planning to read it? What were your thoughts? If so, if you haven't read it yet, please let me know what you think after you're done. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any requests for books I should review, even though I'm not the best at reviewing books, please do let me know. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so you get post notifications every single time that we post. Give us a thumbs up, and I will see you guys the next time. Bye!